Ohio State debuted a new little wrinkle here in a 41-7 victory over Purdue at Ross-Ade Stadium. It was the return of Devin Brown, who had been sort of out of the mix the last couple of weeks. The games against Notre Dame, the game against Maryland, didn't necessarily need him in there in a significant way, but here he comes in a goal line package. I guess we have to come up with a name for this goal line package for Brown. Something about like the UPS, like Brown delivers. I don't know. We'll work on it. But
Brown do for you?
What can Brown do for you? Well, they decided what he can do. Ryan Day was talking about it after the game, was coming into a game like this where they thought the elements might be at play. They remembered last year's experience at Northwestern, and they said, we need to have a preemptive answer if something like that happens, especially in the goal line. You can't be wasting opportunities, and that was what the design was today. Devin Brown could come in, use his legs, use his arm, and be a different wrinkle around the goal line, and it worked great the first time, runs for a touchdown. Worked not as great the second time, fumbled as he was going into the end zone, would have been a second touchdown. Another goal line possession, he started, they brought in McCord, and McCord finished off the touchdown drive. So, Steven, is this something that Ohio State needs to make a permanent part of this offense going forward?
I don't know, because
great.
I was there in 2018 when they were doing this with Tate Martell, and it didn't work, and Dwayne hated it. He hated coming off the field for it. Kyle McCord seemed a little more open to it when I asked him about it today. And, I mean, that's easy to say right now when the cameras are in your face. But Dwayne, just like, even when the cameras are in your face, made it very clear, I don't like coming off the field for this dumb stuff. I think it's an interesting wrinkle. I am just wondering, though, if it's unique to this situation. Conditions, you're playing an opponent where we can, try stuff out, but also show some stuff. But I am wondering whether it's this or this the Caden Curry being the fullback stuff. Is that going to show up against Penn State? I don't. It's a 50-50 thing. I won't be shocked if it happens, but I also won't be shocked if this is the last time we see Devin Brown in a real game this year. He did say that they had been putting his package in all offseason, but they told him this week that it was a real possibility that they were going to use it, and the benefit of it is they have to honor him. And he said he heard Purdue players when he was coming onto the field, 33's in the game, 33's in the game. They're talking about now you have to honor the run in a way that you maybe don't have to honor it with Kyle McCord. And maybe they're not that different of runners, first and foremost, but Devin Brown is a more willing runner in those situations, more willing to pull it, so you have to honor it. So there is a benefit to it. I just don't know if there's a benefit to it against Penn State that makes them want to use it next week and not just be a situation where the unique circumstances called for it.
I think it's more likely that Caden Curry is in on offense against Penn State than it is Devin Brown, probably. But I think it depends on things like conditions. I think it was smart for Ohio State to say, hey, just in case things get weird, like you went through that last year at Northwestern, you literally couldn't throw the ball. So why wouldn't you prepare something like this, whether it's goal line or not, to be able to use Devin Brown? Now, I think some of his running compared to McCord is a little bit overblown at times, because if you remember, right after the touchdown drive, Ohio State got the ball back, and McCord ran out for like a 9-yard run on a scramble. Like, he knows what he's doing with his legs too, but I think it makes sense to have it in your back pocket. I just don't think it needs to be the goal line package now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to use this in every goal line situation. I don't think so. Don't think they should. Andrew, what do you think should be the usage going forward?
I thought it was a nice thing to use today because, one, you were struggling in short yardage. You were struggling in the red zone. You were struggling running the ball, and that gave you the opportunity to throw a different look out and try and see if it worked. And I know he fumbled going into the end zone, but it kind of did work. Like, if he hangs onto that ball, that's a touchdown. Like, it kind of did work. And you just mentioned, the Purdue players talking on the field, 33's in the game, 33's in the game. If future opponents have to spend 5 minutes thinking about it, it's worth it. If future opponents have to game plan for this, say, hey, when they get in the red zone, here's what they're going to do, or here's another thing that they could do, it's worth it. You just can't do it against anybody good, because you take Kyle McCord off the field, you're taking your quarterback one off the field, and we saw Devin Brown throw it like it was an out route or a comeback route, and got a little dicey real quick, and it could have been a pick six if that corner had his head turned around. You don't want to take your number one player off the field and your number one quarterback off the field. You just can't do that in the red zone, because then you are basically just lighting in big flashing whatever that, hey, we're not going to throw it as much as we would have if Kyle McCord was in the game. This is a running package, and you don't want Penn State or Michigan or Wisconsin or whatever bowl game you're going to play. You don't want that team to have that idea that, oh, look, this is just the freshman Tebow package, and when Tebow comes in the game, Tebow's going to throw a jump pass or he's going to run it. That's the problem. So for me, you can't do that long term. you can do it in spots. If you want to do it against Rutgers, go crazy. You want to do it against Minnesota, go crazy. Have fun. Keep teams preparing for it. You can't do it against anybody good because you're taking your quarterback off the field, and it just gives the defense so many. Like, I understand the option of, hey, we have to account for this guy, but it actually does make things a little bit different, and it makes things a little bit more unique because, yes, there are more plays theoretically, but you're also shrinking the playbook in another aspect because you're not going to throw the ball as effectively.
But Devin Brown's not a rag arm exactly. So you think if it's 1st and goal from the 3 against Penn State on a rainy, windy day, they should not put Devin Brown in to run the goal line package?
No.
Steven, do you agree?
I don't agree with that. I think that's when you use it. These are the conditions where you use that play. You don't use it, then no.
That's not what I just asked you.
I know, but that's my pivot, though.
That's not the pivot.
That isn't a pivot. That's a completely different question.
The scenario today.
I specifically asked you. Muddy. Well, it won't be muddy. It's turf.
Yep.
Wet, cruddy conditions, windy conditions. 1st and goal from the 3 against Penn State. Maybe it's early in the game.
Absolutely not.
You would not do it.
No, leave quarterback 1 in the game. You want to do this? You want to do that when it's rainy, sunny, snowy, sleety? I don't care. You want to do that against Minnesota? That's fine. Don't do that against Penn State. Can't do that against anybody good.
But we'll be debating this more on Buckeye Talk. Find out wherever you can find podcasts and get the text 614-350-3315. So you can text at Andrew. Yep. When they do it and it succeeds at Penn State, against Penn State, you can tell him he was an idiot or something. Or at least just he was wrong. He's a nice guy. More anywhere you can find it from cleveland.com.